Hi guys. I'm delighted to welcome you to our Tech Force event today. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself, our company, and our esteemed speaker, Maksym. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself, our company, and our esteemed speaker, Maksym. My name is Luda, and I am a recruiter at Beetroot company, and I am available to discuss our open vacancies and projects with you. My name is Luda, and I am a recruiter at Today, I will be serving as the moderator for this event. We are proud to present our company Beetroot, which is a Swedish IT business. Today, we are happy to have one of our talented tech developers, Maksym, who will present this excellent presentation for us, how to do web accessibility audit. During this event, I will be monitoring the chat, so feel free to write any questions or comments you may have for our speaker. Answers to your questions and comments at the end of Maksym's speech. So please welcome Maksym. The microphone is yours. Let's get started.
Yeah, hello everyone. Glad to be here. As Luda told, my name is Maksym. I'm a web developer at Beetroot, and today we're here to discuss, to talk a bit about web accessibility. And let me quickly share my screen to show you what I want to show you actually. And as you can see, there is small presentation I have to start with. And as I mentioned, web accessibility, aka A11Y. And I'm sure you know that 11Y stands for 11 letters between A and Y respectively. But to serious matter, why do we need to care about web accessibility? Basically, I'm sorry. Yeah, basically, web accessibility, we need to care about it for two reasons. First one is because web accessibility is about providing equal opportunities to people with and without disabilities, or it's a way to avoid expensive lawsuit because different countries have different regulations regarding web accessibility. And I strongly suggest you to stick to first reason about equal opportunities, because if you just focused on cutting costs, it's going to cost you more actually, because again, different countries, different regulations, and you sure are going to miss something which is going to end up exactly with what you wanted to avoid in the first place. Implement accessibility with those in mind who actually need it, people with different kinds of impairments. But how do we actually implement web accessibility? There is a web accessibility guide, and there are three levels of conformance. First level, level A, it's basic accessibility. Level AA, it's strong accessibility, and level AAA, it's excellent accessibility, but it's meant to basically meet perfectionists, and you don't really need to achieve this level of conformance all the time. And even web content accessibility guidelines doesn't recommend to achieve level AAA. Level AA is more than enough. But if you have a type of content which is capable of achieving a AAA level, then you may want to get there. I mean, to implement AAA accessibility level. Otherwise, level AA is your actually whole. And people who need us to implement the accessibility to make site stick to these levels of conformance, there are, for example, 4 types of impairment, kinds of disabilities. First one is visually impairment people. It's people with blindness, low-level vision, and color blindness. It's people with hearing impairments, various levels of hearing loss ranging from mild to profound. Mobility impairments, it's purely physical issues or some neurological disorders, which prevent people from using internet or using browsers as usual. And the first one is cognitive impairments. It's ranges from intellectual disabilities to all of us as we age and have difficulties with thinking and remembering. And to help people with any kind of disability, there are actually assistive technologies, different kind of assistive technology, but we are going to stick to screen readers this time. And there are different types of them. There are paid screen readers, free and built-in, and they are available across all major platforms like Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and so on, even mobile platforms. Even Chrome has its own ChromeWorks extension to help you actually audit your website and people with disabilities to surf your website. But all these screen readers, they are meant to be used by people with disabilities. Web developers, on the other hand, and well, not only web developers really, we have a different set of assistive technology for us. And one of them you're familiar with is it's Lighthouse. You actually can check accessibility with Lighthouse. And also two worth mentioning is XDev tools by DQ and Wave evaluation tool by WebAIM. These three tools actually are actually really helpful to find issues with accessibility and fix them, prevent them before it's too late. But still, all those tools, they are just automatic, meaning they just use existing standards to scan your page and help you find those issues. You also need really live in person to help you find those, check your page, not only for automatic issues, but also using screen readers, for example, QA specialists, and scan your page and make sure that you not only have those 100 points from Google, but also that your page makes sense for people who is going to surf your page. I mean, people with disabilities, of course, for example, visual impairment people. Only then you can consider your page accessible. And this was a really short presentation. We can celebrate the fact that it's over, and I'm going to show you actual web page and how you conduct audit to check whether it's accessible. And I'm going to use basically main page of Beetroot website, and the very first thing I'm going to check is basically Lighthouse. So we have this accessibility category on desktop, and if we set analyze page load, it's going to quickly surf through the page. It's faster than all of this category, of course. And as you can see, Google is pretty much happy with accessibility here. I mean, 100 out of 100. But it what Google believes, and it actually shows some points to check manually. It's not necessarily a problem. It's just something to remind you that it's worth checking. To make sure that it's fine there. But also there is XDev tools, what I mentioned, and if I try to scan a page with this tool, I'm going to have one automatic issue, and it's minor issue. And to be more precise, its ID attribute value must be unique. Basically, if we open this, basically it highlights that this Google Tag Manager script has not unique ID attribute. Accessibility-wise, it's not really a problem. I mean, nobody is going to interact with Google Tag Manager script element ever. So you may give it a slip here, but for more important elements, you'd better keep track of this ID attributes one way or another. I'm sorry. I'm showing you just 1 second. My bad, sorry. Again, I'll start again, my bad. If we talk about Lighthouse, back to Lighthouse, as you can see, it shows 100. So Google is pretty much happy with this page, as I mentioned before. But if we check XDevTools with XDevTools, then we have this minor issue. As I mentioned, ID, it's not a big problem in this case. And as you can see, this XDevTools uses accessibility guide 2.1 level AA, more than enough in terms of accessibility. But if there is some, again, AAA, then you would want to implement AAA accessibility standards. And you can switch best practices on and off to make sure that you cover everything, absolutely everything. Let's try to check another tool. It's Wave Dev tool, Wave Evaluation tool. And as you can see, it's going to distort your page a bit, but it's only when it's active, not when, not all the time. We have this convenient code tab here to highlight code. I'll show you how it works in a second. And as you can see, there is zero errors, zero contrast errors, and 6 alerts. Let's check what these alerts are. First type of alert, it's a nearby image has the same alternative text. Basically, it's about this image. As you can see, it was highlighted here also. And it uses Beetroot is alternative text. And this alert happened because this image also has Beetroot is alternative text. I'll explain it in a bit later why it is what it is. Another possible alert is possible heading. Basically, this one, help Ukraine with Beetroot Tech Relief Fund. What it means is that this wave evaluation tool believes that because it's a bigger font, it might be a header. But if you're sure that it's not a header, it was meant to be in this font size, bigger font size, then it's not a problem. It's just, again, alert. Redundant link. Basically, it's about this link. What does it mean? Redundant link means that this link and some links around it, pretty close to this one, have the same destination. In this case, contact us page. But again, you want me to show Lifehouse again? It's okay. Let me finish with this, and I'll check if it's possible to show Lighthouse. Just a second. Yeah, redundant link again. If too many same links around this are around, then this alert may appear. But again, it's not a problem really if you don't see it as a problem. A link to PDF document. Well, strictly speaking, it's not exactly a problem of your web page if this alert happens, but it's rather a reminder that PDF documents, they have different set of accessibility rules to implement, and it's rather to remind you to have accessible PDF document, not that it's problem for your web page on its own. And no script elements, this is, again, it's not exactly a problem, but the reminder, because nowadays, majority of people prefer using browsers with JavaScript enabled. And if you decided to hide some crucial information behind no script element, then it's quite possible that nobody is going to see it ever. So keep that in mind and never use any crucial information behind no script element for whatever reason. And yeah, this is everything for this tool. And let me try to check again Lighthouse. Tell me, anyone, please, can you see it? Is it visible on the screen right now? Anyone? Yeah, but in case you don't see it, again, it shows actually 100. So Google, as I mentioned before, it's believes it's perfectly accessible. You can see it. Okay, let me try reshare it quickly. Let me quickly reshare it. And can you see it now? Should be visible right now. Still no? That's strange. Zoom should show everything.
Yes, now it's clear and we see it.
It's a delay. I'm sorry. Yeah, as I mentioned before, again, if you run, I actually conducted one more time. You go to Lighthouse, choose desktop or mobile, doesn't matter really. And there are categories, and we are interested in accessibility. And in this case, we have 100 out of 100. So Google believes this page is perfectly accessible. XDevTools, on the other hand, I'll just do a quick recap, believes there is one minor issue. So, and the wave evaluation tool showed that there are 5-6 alerts on the page. So the main point here is that it's better to use different tools to make sure you cover as much ground as possible, actually. Because while Google believes it's perfectly accessible, you may find other issues you need to fix. Yeah, I guess this is pretty much it for automatic testing. For automatic testing, I'm going to close everything here. And now I'm going to use extension, Chromevox extension, to show you how it's done, mostly done with
Chromevox spoken feedback is ready.
With screen reader.
Custom software development company for international outsourcing and IT solutions, tab.
As you could hear right now, screen reader basically announced this text in the tab, what is title element of your page, situated in head element, in head part. That's why you need to keep in mind that everything you do is not only, for example, for search engine optimization's sake, but also it concerns screen readers. I mean, screen readers use those elements as well. And if we start testing our page,
main navigation button.
As you could hear, the very first element should be this button, skip main navigation. And it should be really button because out of the box, HTML provides some semantics for elements, which is used by screen readers. That's why language part in HTML there is there for a reason, actually. And button is more useful out of the box because you don't need to prevent default default behavior, like for links, for example, because if it was link, you would need to prevent default link behavior of trying to send you to another page. With button, you don't need that. And I'll show you a bit later how it works. So let's go further.
Header, homepage, visited link.
As you know, many websites, maybe even most of it, have most of them have some kind of logo at the very top, and usually there is nothing after it. I mean, no text to explain what's going on, and in case it's something you have to deal with, then you need to use so-called ARIA attributes. In this case, it's ARIA label with value home page, and then screen reader announce that it's visited link or just link if it's not visited. Basically, it helps to create kind of context to let people with disabilities know, for example, visual impairments especially, that this link is going to lead them to homepage. And those ARIA attributes, there are actually pretty vast topic to discuss, but the main point to remember here is that those attributes, they allow two things. First is to enhance functionality of existing elements. For example, you may make screen reader believe that it's not a link but a button. For example, I don't think you are going to get away with it in the end, but you can try, of course. And if you have website with built only with div elements they don't have any semantical meaning. It's just like empty element kind of in terms of accessibility for screen readers. Then you can use these ARIA attributes to give some semantics and thus accessibility. So if you have text meant to be heading, you can use ARIA attribute heading and what level of this heading, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Yeah, let's go further.
Navigation list with 6 items. Go to 10 years of impact page. Link list item.
As you could hear, it said navigation list with 6 items. Basically, that's where this nav element comes into play, because it tells screen readers that this exact block, this exact list is navigational one. So basically, it tells people using assistive technology that it's a menu, maybe a main menu or sidebar menu, but still it's something that contains links to other pages.
Go to dedicated teams page. Visited link list item.
If we take dedicated teams link, well, dedicated teams for people with, for example, visual impairments, it's not quite descriptive. So you may want to make it more descriptive with, again, ARIA label attribute to explain that this is the page. So go to dedicated teams page. That so person don't feel like lost on the page with it. Another thing to keep in mind.
Toggle hamburger menu. Button collapsed list item.
As you can see, we have this hamburger menu icon, which is actually a button. It's not icon itself, it's a button. And you could hear also that it has ARIA label attribute that it's hamburger menu button, and also that it's collapsed at the moment. If you want to make a screen reader announce collapsed or expanded, you need to use ARIA expanded attribute with respective values true or false. So if it's true, it's expanded. If it's false, it's collapsed. And again, it's better to use button, not link. If it's possible, use a button, because out of the box, it's got more convenient functionality in general for this kind of things. And if I hit spacebar button,
navigation list with 7 items.
As you can see, we have this off-screen element which appeared out of nowhere, basically. This hamburger menu with lots of links. And if you need to work with these different off-screen elements like this one, or pop-ups, which is, I guess, more common, even, you need to think about such things, thing like focus trap, because if you don't implement it, user at some point is going to just fall out of this element and keep going through the page without even realizing it, probably. And let me show how it works. If now I'm standing at this cases link, and if I hit Shift Tab,
navigation, go to beetroot.se page.
I could fall back to this hamburger menu button, but instead with focus trap, I can
with 7 items
through this links like basically forever. But that's why you need to implement a way to actually escape this element, and that's where you most likely need to implement keyboard navigation. And in my case, it's escape button.
Navigation list with 6 items.
And then I go back to hamburger button with those hamburger menu closed. And by the way, as you might notice, we have 2 types of outline here, orange one and reddish, I guess. Orange one is provided by Chromevox screen reader. So you can't rely on it because some screen readers may or may not provide this kind of outline. This reddish one, on the other hand, is created with CSS, of course. And you'd better use this CSS one whenever possible. I mean, don't rely on the one provided by screen readers. And you actually can surf through the page not only with tabs, through the links, but through the text also. And one main takeaway here is that screen readers, they usually, I guess all the time even, they build a structured list of headings and links. So you want to, and what you need to care about especially is structured list of headings. Because again, it's not only search engine optimization thing, because it's going to be confusing for users if you have H1, then H6, for example, then H4, H2, and so on. If it's mixed like that, it's going to be really confusing. So try to stick to structured H1, H2, H3, and so on. And if we keep surfing,
help Ukraine with the Beetroot. Donate to support Ukrainians. Link.
It's regular link.
Aid for Ukraine banner. Button.
It's button. And here is the thing I wanted to show you later with those alternative attributes. As you can see, we have image here on the right and text on the left. But in DOM structure, actually image goes first. I swapped position with CSS, of course. But a screen reader is going to go through the page using DOM structure. And if I go further,
Beetroot is your software development partner for good. Beetroot is your software development partner for good.
As you can see,
Heading 1.
It creates kind of feeling of kind of complete sentence. I mean, with images, you actually have three options to go with. First one is have alt attribute empty. So I mean, it should be there, but the value is empty. Then you actually force screen reader to ignore this image completely. You can provide some meaningful explanation to this specific image if you want to have meaningful explanation, or you can get kind of creative to create this feeling of complete sentence. But it's up to you, and depending on what conditions you have. I mean, if you have some meaningful explanations, then you should use what was provided.
Beetroot builds dedicated. Go to contact page and let's develop. Link list item list with 1 items.
As you can see, again, it's actually a link here, not a button, but with visuals like it's a button. And it's only let's develop text. For people with no visual impairments or disabilities at all, let's develop is pretty descriptive, that it's a link that is going to lead to some page. But people with visual impairments, it may be not as descriptive if it says just let's develop. So again, ARIA attribute to the rescue, go to contact page and let's develop. So it's a bit more descriptive and call to action at the same time. What other things I wanted to show you? If it's sliders like this.
Companies like yours trust us.
If you have any kind of sliders, you need to make sure that it's possible to surf through it with keyboard navigation. And if I go further,
startups list with 7 items. Continental list with 7 startups. They love our 2 list with 7.
Like this, yes. So we have different images and they can be focused. And if I hit navigational button, I mean arrow right, for example.
Winning temp, wise stamp, orbin, swap grid, orbin, wise stamp.
As you can hear, it announced basically the name of the company on the image. I mean, Inspera, Continental, Pixel, swap grid, etc. It's an example of more meaningful alternative text attribute. Which is actually should be useful for users because image is not going to tell anything on its own. And again, you need to make sure user can navigate through it with keyboard buttons like arrow left or right. One thing to take care about here, we have this section, and if I hit tab,
section list with 5 items. Mobile application development is an app developing company. We rely on the latest technologies to build UX-driven, high-performance, and flexible native and cross-platforms apps. Link list item.
as you could hear, all entire text was announced, but in this case, we have actually complex block, complex element consisting of image with empty alt attribute. That's why it was ignored completely. Otherwise, it might announce title element. Actually, you need to remember that if there is no alt attribute at all, and there is title attribute, then you may want to keep title attribute empty, because otherwise it's going to be announced, and it may be confusing, because usually title attributes is the name of the image, but you can change it, of course. And then it's title and excerpt here, which was announced, so user have some idea what's going on and where this link is going to lead to. Another thing, yes, this one, especially this part.
Section list with 3 items. Custom services for development projects at any stage, including project analysis, design creation and architecture development, project management, and DevOps. List item.
As you could hear, screen reader started reading the text, but then it announced not discovery, but some bigger text, like entire sentence, then project management, and then DevOps. In this case, discovery, again, for people with visual impairments, maybe not as descriptive. And what I wanted was to take care to make it more understandable for them. And that's why I just went to this page, analyzed its content, and created a short description for ARIA label attribute. So when user hits this specific element or this specific link, user is going to hear basically explanation what's going to what he or she is going to see on the other side of this link. Testimonials, basically, pretty much, if you have testimonials on the with the slider, then you may want to make image invisible for screen readers, again with alt attribute empty, and make sure that it's possible to navigate with buttons.
Project dev Python. Section list with 4 items. The main positive aspect of working with Beetroot is their Swedish mentality.
As you can see, it started announcing text of this testimonial because entire list element was focused. And if I again hit navigational button,
We appreciated Beetroot's commitment to social responsibility, and what we were looking for and found with Beetroot was.
And if you configure it to focus each active element, then you force screen reader to announce it. I mean, text of focused element, and while its list element, while this list element is full focus, this entire text would be announced if I wouldn't stop it, of course. Yeah, I guess this is everything I wanted to show you on this page. Let me show you a few more things on this.
Go to dedicated software development team. Hire dedicated remote development team.
As you can see, we have actually perfect opportunity, what I mentioned at the very beginning, perfect opportunity to show you importance of skip main navigation button. As we move to another page, we don't need to surf through this entire header again. I mean, we want to go straight to the content, and luckily for us, this header is not very complicated. If it was, we would be in much bigger trouble, and that's why you need this skip main navigation button. If I hit spacebar, for example,
dedicated development teams to scale your in-house capabilities. Heading 1 section.
I went straight to the content, and I can keep serving from here down to the very bottom. One thing here I wanted to show is this one.
Whether you
this accordion functionality. As you can see, there are 4 elements, and if I go further,
with 4 items. Dedicated software development squads. Button expanded list item.
Again, it's button with ARIA attribute expanded. And screen reader announces proper information. If I hit
dedicated software development squads,
it's going to announce it again, and if I hit it again,
we help you connect dedicated developers into extended software teams to diversify.
And as you can see, entire text was focused. Again, it's configuration to make sure person is not stuck. I mean, something is announced to make a person go further through the content. And if I go further with this one,
contact us operations, data, set up a dedicated team of contact, product, leverage, request a consultation.
And as you can see, we have 4 links in each of this accordion element. And if I go up again,
leverage, product, content, setup, design, and creative search.
I need to go through all focusable elements. It's a link, it's a text, and actually button. But if now
product section tab list.
I'm sorry.
Design data operations. We dedicate.
If I keep all those elements closed, I mean all accordion elements closed, and try to go through it again.
Operations, design, and product discovery.
As you can see, I don't
collapsed list item.
As you can see, I don't focus neither text nor link itself. This is achievable with two ways. In 2 ways. First one, you may want to use either display none CSS rule or visibility hidden, depending on what you need. But both these rules, they hide respective elements from screen reader. And if it's visibility hidden, it just visually hides it on the page without like removing it from the structure, I mean visually. While display none hides it completely. And in case you won't just hide it with opacity, you need to be sure that you somehow prevent focus in this element. And this is achievable on with two ways, actually. Area hidden attribute, which takes true or false values. And then when it's true, then the element is hidden from screen reader and false respectively. And there is an element attribute called tab index. It takes numbers like 0, -1, or 1, 2, 3, but it's strongly not recommended to use tab index equals 1, 2, 3, and so on, because if you try to use something other than 0 and -1, you are basically going to mess up your indexing structure, and it's going to end. I'm not sure how it's going to end. I mean, there may be different outcomes to this. So basically, if you want to keep to have element focusable, you use tab index 0. And if you don't want it to be focusable with anything other than JavaScript, I mean, you manually focus it with JavaScript, then you use tab index -1. And then you can control whether a specific element can be focused or not. Another thing is this one. Basically, if you prefer using Bootstrap, I mean heavily, you rely on it in everyday activities and build interfaces with it. You know that they have boilerplate with 4 tabs. And they use all those attributes like role tab list, role tab, tab content, and so on. It's basically something you can use without Bootstrap. I mean, here we have tab list and
tab list, tailored recruitment, tab expanded 1 of 5.
It's pretty similar to accordion or array expanded with regular button. It just announces that it's a tab button, and so user knows that they move to area of tabbed content.
Infrastructure. Infrastructure. There are people behind every project.
And pretty much it's again, as I said, it's similar to accordion, but with some peculiarities, some specific things that you need to implement. And the last thing I wanted to show you here is forms.
Need more hands.
It's really important here because if we go to forms with step
first name asterisk with hint type name, edit text required.
As you could hear, it announced first name with asterisk, hint type name, and so on. Basically, first name is a label. That's why you use label among other things. It's also used by screen reader to make sure this input's not like orphaned input, so it's not impossible to understand why it's there. Hint type name, it's basically your placeholder. And required, again, it's just attribute required, making this specific element required to be able to submit this form. And as you can see, we have only orange outline here provided by ChromeVox, but no this reddish outline. In case of text inputs, you may or may not add CSS outline, CSS configured outline. But because you have this blinking cursor, and it's more than enough indication that this specific field was focused. But if you want, you may add it. Where you don't have a choice, really, it's this.
Country. Select country. Combo box 1 of 200.
Basically, select elements. It's called combo box in terms of screen readers. And you really want to use, if possible, of course, this functionality out of the box. And you must actually have this reddish or whatever color highlight around your select element, because there is no other way to show that this specific element was focused. And speaking of functionality out of the box, if you use navigational buttons, I mean arrow left, right, or top or bottom.
Afghanistan 2 of 200. Albania 3 of 200.
You can surf through the options of the select, but in this case, we actually have 200 countries in this list, and it would take forever to surf it like that.
Algeria 4 of Andorra.
That's why, again, it's default behavior. If you hit, for example, if you want to choose Ukraine, for example, then
Algeria
it should be like
4
this.
of 200. Andorra 5 of 200. Country. Andorra. Combo box 5 of 200.
Interesting. Just a second.
Select country 1 of 200. Company with country. Select country. Tell us about country. Afghanistan 2 of 200.
For whatever reason, it doesn't want to actually, when I hit the U button, for example, it doesn't want to go to countries starting with letter U, but in general, it actually goes to that part of the list, and you can surf from there. I mean, for example, Ukraine 168, if I'm not mistaken. That would be easier, but for whatever reason, it's maybe I did it somehow wrong. But anyway, not to waste time.
Tell us about you. I have read and accepted the terms and conditions and privacy policy. Beetroot may also contact me regarding this form submission and related matters in the future. Checkbox not checked.
As you could hear, it's checkboxed and it's not checked right now. Usually we don't use default checkbox in case we don't need to style it anyhow. But if you need to style it, you want to actually hide it, but with opacity rule, because otherwise you are going to hide it from screen reader, and user won't be able to understand that it's checkbox. Text may be announced if you take care of it, but checkbox is not going to be announced, and you won't be able to use your keyboard.
Checked. I have not checked.
Yes, and then screen reader most likely is going to announce the entire text again, but then tell that the checkbox is checked, or checked it, announce that it's checked already. It may be more than enough for user. And I guess this is pretty much all what I wanted to show you. Yeah, I guess that's all on my side. And Mila, you can.
Accessibility beat up.
Extensions
tab.
I give microphone back to you, and you may want to go through these links.
Yeah, Maksym, thank you for your speech and so cool presentation. And now is the right time to write your questions and maybe clarifications in chat if you have something to ask from Maksym. And as for now, we already have a few questions. So to Maksym, so first of them is, can I become a website auditor as my first job without having any experience in UX before? Maksym, can you help us with this question?
If we talk about web accessibility, I guess it's possible. I mean, as I showed you at the very beginning of practical part of it, you basically have different tools to check accessibility level, and then you just need to surf through the website. And UX thing is, I believe, is more of like designer thing. I mean, designer need to create design with accessibility in mind. Because, for example, if a designer creates a page with colors that have bad contrast, if I remember correctly, it should be 4.5 to 1. If it's lower, then it's a violation of accessibility standards. But if you know these standards, I mean, not by heart, maybe because they are really vast, but that's why you use these technologies, these tools, then you may start auditing your website and highlight those violations for them to improve them. I guess this is it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so the next question is how to use tooltips. We use difficult and hard to explain words, accessible for everyone.
I'm not sure what tooltips we're talking about. About tooltips like title attribute or tooltips like separate element with, for example, popping up explanation. Because if it's first, well, title is going to be, should be at least announced by screen reader on its own. But if it's tooltips with, for example, you have question mark over the text or something, then you want to, well, actually it's much more work for you. You need to make sure that this question mark or whatever element you use is focusable actually, and that it's somehow clickable, for example, with keyboard, with space bar button or something, which should in turn trigger appearance of this bubble, for example, with explanation of this word. Which should be also focusable to make sure that person not only is capable of triggering it, but also capable of reading actual tooltip. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so how to convince your client to invest in usability test for accessibility or hire blind or person to test the product?
Basically try to find ranges of fines for violating accessibility rules. I mean, as I mentioned at the very beginning, different countries have different rules regarding web accessibility, and if you violate any of them and someone would feel like it's good to fine you to teach you a lesson, well, it's going to be pretty much costly lesson, so it's better to prevent this in advance. So that's why it's not a matter of pursuing someone. It should be something like that should be tested at the very beginning. But again, as I mentioned, it's better to stick to the first reason, help people with different kind of disabilities to use your web pages as if they don't have this disability, so they can use it properly. Otherwise, again, pretty expensive lawsuit. I guess this is the main argument here, I believe.
Thank you, Maksym. And also one more question. I believe Maksym covered many cases, and is it possible to show some code with area attributes, maybe DevTools?
Let's try. I guess I show you. I should be able to show you something with array attributes. Let's try this one. We have this one. Link, yes. Here, it's actually SVG, and we have home link here, array label homepage. That was what announced by screen reader. Pretty much the same for this button, hamburger menu. It's array expanded false, as I mentioned before. That's why it's going to say collapsed, and area label toggle hamburger menu. It's going to be announced when user focuses this button, so user not feels lost, at least. Or I guess this is what was asked, I believe. I mean, different other cases pretty much the same. I mean, you may want to use different attributes, and actually, yeah, I'll show you one more thing. It's role tab list, for example. Role tab list. That's why screen reader was able to announce that it's tab list. I guess this is what I wanted to say to answer this question.
Accepted, thank you. And also one more question about where can we find examples of best practices for different page elements with code?
On Google, but on the serious note, such websites like MDN should be of help, of course, because they have, especially if you try to look for ARIA attributes there, they have pretty extensive explanation there. And you may want to search for WebAIM recommendations. They have pretty big list of recommendations how to implement some accessibilities standards. Yeah, I guess it's somewhere to start, because there are tons of different articles on the topic, and even Stack Overflow may be of help here. I guess that's all.
Thank you, Maksym. So I check that we don't have any questions as for now, so probably here we can stop for today. So thank you all of you for your time and visit our call. Thank you, Maksym, and see you soon in future here. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.